Well, hello, Rock Church. How's everybody doing? You guys good? Can you hear me out there? Can you hear me all the way in that corner? You got me back there? It's like we've used every chair we have in our auditorium. Holy cow. We're going to have to go steal some more. All right. So, hey, man, I'm really glad that you are with us today and so thankful for you, whether this is your first time or you come all the time. And Clay said it. We're starting this new series called Attack on Idols. And it's based off of an anime show, Attack on Titan, and the book of Daniel from the Bible. All right. Now, so I want to know, just curious in our crowd, who here has ever watched anime? Any anime? Okay. I see a good number there. All right, very good. Somebody's really excited in the back, right? So, how about this? For everybody else, how many of you all have ever watched a cartoon? Right? Like, we get everybody pretty much when we say that. Just understand, anime is simply Japanese storytelling through animation. That's all anime means, and it's been around for a long time, but lately it has gotten really popular, especially with the young adult culture, all right, with this gen. And so we were talking, and we were like, man, let's look at the book of Daniel, and then Clay said, hey, Daniel, like, it really pairs a little bit with this Attack on Titan. Now, I am not going to be able to explain Attack on Titan to y'all, okay? Let me just admit it right now. If you've seen it, you already know it. If you haven't seen it, if I try to explain it to you, I will just confuse you. So all I'm going to try to do is throw it in every now and then, but I'll give you the quick, very surface level version. There are these giant titans that are trying to devour mankind. All right, and when I say devour, I mean they are like giant, like humans. That's a special titan. That's kind of like a armor titan or colossal titan. You can decide which one that is. But these regular titans, they just look like giant, jolly green giant, naked dudes running around, okay? It's the only easiest way to say it. And they literally eat people. In the first episode, like 5 minutes in, you see a mama getting eaten, okay? So I'm not saying it's your show you'd like to watch, but I want you to hear it from this standpoint. People are living in fear because these titans are trying to devour them. But there's a segment of those people who say enough is enough. 4 of them especially that say we're not going to get devoured by titans, we're going to attack them. And with that in mind, I want you to hear this, that I believe that we have some titans in our life that are trying to devour us. I believe that we have created some titans. And I say we have created, just like on the show, they created. We have created some titans. And those titans are called idols. An idol is anything we place in the place of God, anything that we put in the place of God. And we put a lot of things in the place of God. All of us have done it. All of us do it. We'll put pleasure, we'll put politics, we'll put people, we'll put money, we'll put pride, we'll put power, and the list goes on and on and on about the things that we put in the place of God. And anytime we do that, that's an idol. And so the challenge over the next 7 weeks is going to be quit bowing down to those idols and start standing with Christ. Quit bowing down to idols and start standing with Christ. And I want to let you know, we're going to look at the book of Daniel when we do this. And from the book of Daniel and from the sermons, I just want you to know they're going to be a little punchy. Okay? And when I mean that, you could feel like that I'm attacking you or one of our communicators is attacking you. And I want you to hear this very clearly. I am not. But I am attacking the idols in your life and in my life. I'm not attacking you. I won't attack you today. I promise you that. But I am going to make an attack on idols. The one we're going to hit today is conformity. The idol that we just conform to what others want or what the world wants in us, especially in the areas of our ideologies, into the things we indulge of, and our identity. That we've gotten to this place where we conform to the pattern of the world, and our ideologies, what we think, what we indulge of, what we consume, our identity, who we are, we've conformed to the lies of the world, to the culture around us, and by doing so, we've made that an idol. We've made our ideologies, we've made our identity, we've made what we indulge of, we've made it an idol in our life that we've got to quit bowing down to. You'll see this in the book of Daniel. So do me a favor, if everybody would just turn to the book of Daniel. And you might go, okay, I didn't bring a Bible. Well, if you have a phone, you have a Bible. All right, so I'm going to help you all through this series. I'm going to keep hammering this. I want you to turn there, all right? And maybe you've never done it before. You can just look at the Rock app. You can scan that QR code in front of you. The Rock app will take you to a place where if you hit the Bible button, it'll take you to Daniel chapter 1. If you have a paper Bible, a digital Bible, doesn't matter, get to Daniel 1. I'm not going to put the scriptures up on the wall. I'm going to let you turn there yourself. And again, let me remind you this. For the next 7 weeks, we'll be in the book of Daniel. So if you just mark it, you'll be able to find it all the time. Because in Daniel chapter 1, what we'll see is an attack. And it's an attack on idol that a king was trying to get Daniel and his friends to change what they were thinking, to change what they were consuming of, and to change who they are. Let's go to Daniel 1. It reads like this. In Daniel chapter 1, verse 1, it says, during the 3rd year of King Jehoiakim's reign in Judah, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave him victory over King Jehoiakim of Judah and permitted him to take some of the sacred objects from the temple of God. So Nebuchadnezzar, who's the king of the land, took them back to the land of Babylon and placed them in the treasure house of his God. Now, I'm going to pause there real quick. That just to catch you up to speed, it's 605 BC. This is not a made-up time. This is not a made-up story. This is real history. You can read about it in the Bible. You can read about it in history books. That in 605 BC, the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, went to Jerusalem, besieged it, ransacked it, took a lot of the Israelite men and a lot of the people back to Babylonia, and then made them slaves and made them work and made them conform to his way of life. 4 of those guys was Daniel and 3 of his friends. And that's what we read next. It says this, verse 3. Then the king ordered Ashpenaz, his chief of staff, to bring to the palace some of the young men of Judah's royal family and other noble families who have been brought to Babylon as captives. Select only strong, healthy, and good-looking young men, he said. Make sure they are well-versed in every branch of learning and are gifted with knowledge and good judgment and are suited to serve in the royal palace. And then look at this last line. Train these young men in the language and literature of Babylon. Guys, that's a key sentence in a key verse. What you see there is the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. He is saying, I need you to grab these guys and I need you to train them in our ways. Train them in our thinking. Train them in what we are about. That he's saying they have an allegiance to a different God, and I want their allegiance to be at me as their God, because Nebuchadnezzar believed himself to be a God. So he's saying, I need you to change their way of thinking from their God to become thinking of me as their God. Change their thinking from their kingdom to my kingdom. That it all started with, I've got to change their ideas, their ideology. And I believe the same thing is happening in our world today. That there's a king of this world. There's a real king named Jesus. There's a fake king named Satan. That's his name. That's what we call him. That he is the one who is trying to just pervert our culture and trying to get us to conform to the world around us. And he will give you lie after lie after lie, trying to get you to change your ideologies. Because this is what Satan knows. If he can change your thinking, he can change what you believe about truth. If he can change your beliefs, he can change your behavior. If he can change your biblical worldview, he can change who you worship. And that's what Satan wants to do. He wants to change our ideologies and get us to conform to the pattern of this world. And we've got to say no to this. We've got to say no. We got to say no to conformity. We got to say no to these ideologies. We got to say no to the lies that are constantly bombarding us. And they are. I mean, I want you to think about everything Satan uses to try to get you to change your ideologies. Think about everything culture uses to get you to change your thinking. The news, entertainment, university thought life, media, social media, politics, people. He uses everything to try to get us to change our thinking. I think with this gen, for those of you who are young adults, teenagers, I think the biggest way that Satan really tries to change our thinking is through our phones. I think we find ourselves on social media and we're just filled with the lies. 6 hours a day is the average screen time for someone who's a young adult or a teenager. 6 hours a day of scrolling. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, other platforms. 6 hours a day of just getting fed with stuff. And listen, some of it's good. I'm not here to curse the phone, right? Like some of the things you look at, some of the things you get can be very good. But if you're not careful, social media will fill you with lies. They'll fill you with deceit. They'll fill you with ideologies that don't hold up to God's word. Think of it this way. Let me say it this way about depression, okay? Depression's real. I know that, all right? So I am not saying negative about depression because I know there's some of you who truly struggle with it. But here's what happens with social media and depression or mental health. Is that maybe you're feeling a little depressed, you're scrolling, you read something that is dealing with depression, so then you read it. And then the next thing you know, because you spent time on that algorithm kicks in, so your social media feed is just getting fed with all kinds of articles about depression, and then about suicide, and then about self-harm, and it's just over and over and over, and by the time you're done, you're like, no, now I'm truly depressed. It's just a lie from the enemy trying to take you down. Or think about it this way. You're scrolling and you see something that is kind of questions some biblical truth, questions some beliefs you have, your biblical worldview. And so you hang out on it for a while. Well, now that algorithm kicks in. Because that happens, it shows up again, and then another one, and you just keep reading it. And all of a sudden, these ideologies start trying to change yours, and you start conforming to them. That teenagers, young adults, I know this is real. Kids, it's real in your world as well. And here's the reality. I know we don't have a lot of kids in here, but we have a lot of parents. And a parent, every time you put a phone in your child's hand, you put a digital device in their hand, you are opening them up to somebody else's worldview. Right? Like that's what you're doing. Right? And if you're not vetting that, if you're not being careful about what they can grab a hold of, then what you're literally doing is you're inviting somebody to sit at the table with your child or to sit in the bedroom with your child and to feed them the lies of the world. That we have to understand that. And I know when I preach like this, I know some of you who are adults who are like my age, you're like, yeah, Josh, preach at them young people. But we ain't any better. Because we get on Facebook and we start scrolling and we see people's comments. We're like, oh, I can't believe they said that. And we spend more time on it and more time. And then we get fed lie after lie after lie. We are all doing the same thing. We're allowing Satan to feed us with lies to try to change your ideology. And here's what happens. You put that ideology up on an area, up on a pedestal, and you make it an idol. And here's how I can tell you if your ideologies are idols. How do you react when someone attacks or confronts your ideology? Because if you react in a way that is not of God, your ideology is an idol. If you respond in a way that is of God, well, then you're responding to an idea of God, right? Here, easy way to illustrate that is just this past week in America. The things that have happened in multiple states to multiple individuals. It's sin. It's horrible. And it all happened because somebody's ideology got attacked, so they reacted in a way that is not of God, which tells you their ideology was an idol. And listen, if your reaction to somebody's reaction is not of God, well, then your ideology is an idol as well. You see what I'm getting at? That we got to make sure that we are putting God in his place, not just my ideas, not just my way of thinking. They were trying to get Daniel and his friends to change their thinking. They were trying to get Daniel and his friends to change what they consume also. That's what we see in Daniel chapter 1, verse 5. In chapter 1, verse 5, it says this. It says, the king assigned them a daily ration of food and wine from his own kitchens. They were to be trained for 3 years and then would enter the royal service. Now, when you read that, you might go, what's the big deal, right? If you've watched Attack on Titan, this is a Sasha moment. Meat, you know what I'm saying? Like I gotta have it. That the king is sitting there going, I want to feed you. I want to give you some good stuff. I want you to enjoy the meat that I have. I want you to enjoy some bacon. I want you to enjoy some shrimp, some lobster. I want you to enjoy the best of the wine. And by doing so, he was not just trying to get Daniel and his friends to consume something that they knew that God told them not to consume. What he was really doing is saying, hey, will you come sit at my table? Will you just come sit at my table? Will you sit and dine with me? Can we develop a relationship that rather than sitting at your king's table, you sit at my table as your new king? And Daniel's sitting there saying, God has told us not to do this. And guys, I got to challenge us. How many times has culture, has the world, if I can say it that way, has Satan said, man, just consume of this, it'll be okay. Just consume of this, it'll be better. Just consume of this, it'll make you better. And we look at things and we go, it's not that big of a deal. Everybody's doing it. Man, it's college. Everybody parties. Everybody binge drinks. It's what Thursday night's for. It's what the weekend's for. And we just think, it won't, it's college. It's okay. I'll be fine. We consume in a way that is just not good, that we indulge in whether it's drinking, whether it's drugs, whether it's sex with whoever you want. You just go, man, I can have sex with whoever I want. I mean, that's what the world says, right? That if you're single, you can have sex with whoever you want. If you're attracted to the same sex, you can have sex with whoever you want. If you're married, you can have sex with whoever you want. I mean, you're an adult. You get to decide. Do what you want. That our world says that's okay. But that's not what God's word says. That we indulge of things that are not of God. And so I want you to see this, that the king was trying to say, will you indulge of the things that I'm offering you, and will you sit at my table? and conform your way of life. And here's the issue. When we conform with our ideologies, the way we think, if we conform in what we indulge in, what we consume, it will lead us to conforming in our identity and who we are. And the king knew this. That's why he was challenging Daniel and his friends this way. He's like, man, if I can get them to change the way they think, and if I can get them to change what they consume of, well, then they're going to change their identity and they're going to follow me. And the same thing is true today. Satan believes this. If he can get us to change the way we think and to change what we consume, if we can change the way we think about truth, if we change what we believe, it'll change our behavior and then it'll change our identity. And if he can get us to change our identity, then he wins. That the king thought, if I can change their identity, then I win. And listen, the Attack on Titan, it's simple. In there, it was all about conforming the identity. That there was a Marleyan group that looked at the Eldians who were refugees, and all they tried to do was get them to change their identity. At first, they started calling them devils, like you're just devils, you're just people of devils. And then from there, they're like, well, we're going to change you into actually Titans. All right, and you're going to go and actually kill your own people. And for some of them, they even said, hey, if you're really good, we'll change you into a pack titan, or we'll change you into an armor titan, or we'll change you into a colossal titan. That they had these ideas like, man, we can change who you are. Because if I change who you are, I change your allegiance. And that's, again, what we see in the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. It says, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were 4 of the young men chosen, all from the tribe of Judah. The chief of the staff renamed them with these Babylonian names. Daniel was called Belshazzar, Hananiah was called Shadrach, Mishael was called Meshach, Azariah was called Abednego. That what you see here in the text is the leader, the guy who's serving the king is like, man, if I can change your name, then I can change your identity. That if I can get you to be called by a different name, if I can get you to believe in your different name, I'll change your identity, which means I'll change your allegiance. I want you to see what it really means. Like, this isn't just like, hey, let's just give them a nickname. This is like, I want to change everything about you. You'll see it on the screen here. That when they were changing their names, here's how they were trying to change their names. That for instance, Daniel means God is my judge. Belshazzar, which is what they changed his name to, Belshazzar is Baal is my judge. So God is my judge, or Baal, who is a false god, he is my judge. Hananiah, God is gracious. Verse Shadrach, obey Aku. Meaning Hananiah, man, I fall under the hand of a gracious God. His name changed to Shadrach, meaning I got to obey Aku, which is a false god. Then you look at Mishael, who is like God, Meshach, who is like Aku. That he's basically saying your name no longer represents God, it represents Aku. That the last one, Azariah, God has helped, versus Abednego, servant of Nego. That I'm going to go from recognizing God, Yahweh, to serving Nego. What the king was trying to do was totally change their identity. And that's what the king of this world, Satan, wants to do to us. Change our identity. He wants us to think that, man, we're not creations of God. We get to be God and decide how we were created. That God didn't form and fashion us out of the earth. We get to decide how we were formed, how we were fashioned. That God didn't design the sexes. That we get to decide what gender I want to be. That God didn't create you. You create yourself. That's the lies of this world and the lies of the enemy. That that's not who God has called you to be, not who God's called me to be. That we are creations of God. Genesis 1, he created us man and woman. He gave us jobs to do, multiply and rule the earth. That as men and women, we are created to be his child, to walk hand in hand with him. Now, we can all admit it, we screwed that up. Every one of us has sinned. Every one of us has messed up. Every one of us has bowed to a false idol. And we broke that family relationship. But God, in his amazing grace, sent Jesus down to this earth, who died on the cross for us, so that we could be adopted back into the family of God. You are a creation of God who can be a child of God. Don't let anybody tell you different. Because these guys, they didn't let anybody else tell them different. Although, what we often do is we just assume what the world is telling us. We just go, I assume that must be true. I assume that is correct. And we are guilty of this, and I'll prove it to you right now. How many of you all, be honest and raise your hand, how many of y'all have ever heard of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? All right, look, a lot of hands up. How many of us have heard of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah? You see the difference? Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah are their God-given birthright names. Yet we call them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We call them that. They never accepted those names. They never said, yeah, call me Meshach. No, he said, no, my name is Mishael. And they didn't say to call me Belshazzar. No, my name is Daniel. We only call them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego because in Daniel chapter 3, the people of Babylon called them Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Like, it's wrong of us. I have made a commitment. I will no longer call them that name because God didn't call them that name, and they never accepted the conformity of the Babylonian Empire. And we need to be the same and trust God with our ideologies, with what we indulge in, and our identity. We do not need to conform to the pattern of this world, but we need to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to, listen to this, test and approve. Look at this verse, Romans 12:2. Test and approve. Test means I'm testing it. Approve means answered, real. Test means, man, I'm going to put this to a test. Approve means pass the test. Can I take you back to Daniel for 1 second? That Daniel, they were saying, hey, eat the food, take the names. Daniel said, no. He said, I got a different idea. Test me and Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah. Test us. Let us for 10 days just eat vegetables and drink water. And the guy was like, no, I can't do that because the king will see you and you won't be as healthy as these other guys. He goes, nah, test us for 10 days and see if we are not better than those around us. And the guy said, okay, I'll do it. And 10 days later, he looked at Daniel and the three other guys and he said, you look better. I want you to catch this. That God's way always proves right. Every time. God's way always proves right every time. You can test it. And I would challenge each and every one of us, myself included in this. What would it look like right now if we said, God, I'm going to test you? Because I want you to see this. When Daniel said, test us, he really wasn't saying test us. He was saying test God. Like, we're going to do things God's way. And he goes, you can test us, but what he was really saying was, test God. Because you're going to see my God prove himself faithful and true and right, and you're going to be like, wow, what a God. Wow, what a God. So why don't we do this? Why don't we put our ideologies, what we indulge of, our identity, up to a test? And think about, man, if I've been believing what the world says on how I should think about truth, if I've been believing what the world says about what I've been indulging of, if I should believe what the world says about who I am, how's that test working? You see what I'm getting at? Because I don't think it's passing the test. But what if you put God to the test? What if I put God to the test? That's the reason I'm down on the floor. I don't want you to look at me like preacher or pastor right now. I'm just one of you. Man, what if we put God to the test as a church, as individuals? And we say, God, I'm going to test you and what your truth in the word says. God, I'm going to test you in what I consume of. God, I'm going to test you in who I am. God, I'm going to consume of you. I'm going to consume of your presence. I'm going to consume of your word. I'm going to consume of prayer. I'm going to consume of the good things that you give, because he gives a lot of good things. God, I'm going to trust my identity in you as a creation of yours and as a child of yours. God, I'm going to test you in this. And listen, I know for some of you, like, man, you're not there. You haven't been there. You're like Aspeness. Some of you thought I was going to say something different right then. I was trying to pronounce a name in the Bible. I don't know if I said it right. But you're like, man, I don't know. Man, testing today. Testing for 10 days. For the next 10 days, say, God, just whatever you say. Testing for this 7-week period as we go through this book. And man, attack the idols in your life. Would you stand with me right now? We're going to go into this time of response. And I'll say this one last thing, that as we test him, man, I'm just going to challenge us as a church just to go before him. I'm going to invite you to come up front and to get down on your knees and to spend time praying. There's communion on the front of the stage if you want to grab some communion if you didn't get any. And just, one, test God, but secondly, kind of consecrate this room. And say, in this new worship area that we've converted, say, God, you are first. You're what matters. Let's go before him. And let's give it all to him right now. Jesus, we humbly come before you as God. And we commit to not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by who you say we are. We will not bow to idols. We'll only bow to you and stand with you. In your name, amen.